What is up, YouTube? Today we are going to be doing a Goat Control 2005 format deck profile. I haven't done a lot of testing with this deck, but everybody at Locals was going, Goat Control, I'm gonna ride their dick all the way till I die. So, to fit in with the Yu-Gi-Oh guys, I decided to adopt my own Goat Control deck. It's kind of like a variation. I wasn't around for the format. I actually got into Yu-Gi-Oh a year ago. Did some research, looked at some other people's deck profiles, looked at some people from my locals. This is what I put together. I guess I would love to know what you think. That actually sounds weird when I say it, but feel free to leave feedback, comment, rate, subscribe, etc. I'll probably say that again at the end of this video. Anyway, let's get into the deck profile. You run the one Sinister Serpent. Everybody did. He was your free discard. You can add him back to your hand during your standby phase. You essentially have to run him. After that, we've got Jinzo. Negates traps. That's pretty basic. Air Knight Parshath. You use him essentially to poke over goats. Then you get your advantage. Advantage was a big deal in this game. I know I did test one game. And in that match, I always had like 6 or 7 cards in my hand, even when I lost. Even when you go off, you're going to just have a lot of cards in your hand, and you just generally have the ability to play conservatively, so why not? Next, we've got one Tribe Infecting Virus. I think everybody knows what he does. You discard Sinister Serpent for him, and then you destroy any type of monster on the field. So that's what he's good for. Sinister Serpent will be good for more than just that. I will explain that later. And again, in Goat Control, every deck is essentially the same or running the same engine, so you know what to expect. We've got 2 Magician of Faith, flip, add 1 back to your hand. That's obvious. Also a light target. 1 Tsukiyomi to create the Thousand Eye Restrict lock. Exarion Universe, you essentially use him. When your opponent has goats out on the field, you lower his attack to 1400 temporarily, and then do 1400 direct damage. Doing damage in this format's much more valuable, so you don't really have the ability to waste life points on things like Solemn Judgment, and then Solemn Warning wasn't even out. So to get 1400 damage in on a goat token is really critical, and then again, you can do it again against Spirit Reaper and other stuff. So you run one of him. 1 Spirit Reaper, like I just said, your stall card, pretty good in this game. You can search him out with Sangin, which I'll show you later. Next we've got 1 Night Assailant, and the purists of Goat Control will probably crucify me for saying that I love this card, but he's also he's a good card to discard, similar to Sinister Serpent, just because when he's discarded, you essentially get to add Magician of Faith back to your hand if you have one engraved. Other than that, he's not really worth discarding. You can set him, and he acts like a man-eater bug, essentially. I know people should know what he does since he is starting to gain popularity this format with the whole tour guide business. Next, we've got 1 Morphing Jar. Your hand sucks. You don't have a lot of cards in hand. You can make it obvious that you have Morphing Jar. I don't really think it's a big deal. Your opponent's willing to gain advantage too. There aren't that many traps in the game, so what do? Draw a few spell cards? Oh well. Anyway, Morphing Jar. We've got 1 DD Assailant. I'm opting not to run DD, the other dimensional card. This one just has more attack points, and since they're getting removed from play anyway, you don't really need to run the other one, which is light. So I just opt to run the Assailant. Next we've got 1 Breaker, the Magical Warrior. Back row removal is key in this format. That's what he's good for. Also a dark. 1 Azure Priest. If they flip goats, you just go attack, 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 because he can attack as many times as your opponent has monsters. So essentially, if you somehow get him boosted or your opponent has puny monsters on the field, you just go attack, 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 and that's not a big deal. He is a spirit monster though, so he returns to your hand. If he ends up in the grave, he's the perfect removal for Blackluster Soldier or Chaos Sorcerer. Next we've got Blade Knight. If you have 1 card, he gains 400 attack. Main point is though, anything he attacks and destroys by battle, its effect doesn't activate. Sangin, I explained that earlier. Obviously a good card. And finally, I chose to run both of the Chaos Boss Monsters. This being because I do run like 5 lights and 7 darks or whatever, which is a lot, not counting each of them. So say he ends up in the grave, then you can drop Chaos Sorcerer for game or something, or Chaos Sorcerer's in the grave, drop Blackluster Soldier for game. Anyway, obviously they're your boss monsters. I figure you have the ability to run more. Why not run more if you're capable of it? So yeah, that's the whole monster count. It's actually a lot. I think it's like 17. Most Go Control decks were running 15 or 6, actually probably 16 I think, was the ones that were topping. Anyway, monster count. So now we'll move on to spells. You run, this is called the Trinity apparently. Delinquent Duo, obviously you pay 1,000. You pick one, or you randomly pick one from your opponent, and then they pick one of their own and discard it. So obviously, if you have a Sinister Serpent in your hand while they activate this, then you opt to discard it with Delinquent Duo's second effect. Same thing goes for Graceful Charity. As one of your discards, since Graceful Charity makes you discard 2, you can opt to discard Sinister Serpent. So these are your 3 power spells. If you're going to summon, flip Magician of Faith, remember there's no Effect Veiler 1, and 2, these are the 3 cards you're trying to get back. Pot of Greed, obviously. Next you've got your 3 goats, obviously for making your goat tokens, and then you metamorphosis with those here. You metamorphosis with those into a fusion monster. Metamorphosis reads, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase, tribute a monster or offer 1 monster on your side of the field, and then you tribute it, send it to the graveyard, and then special summon a fusion monster equal to the level of that monster. So you use the goats, go into Thousand Eyes Restrict, use Tsukiyomi to create the lock. I did read Tsukiyomi later, or previously. It's got the Book of Moon effect. It did just come off the ban list. If you didn't know that, whoop-de-doo. So anyway, only 2 metamorphoses, just because I felt 3 was inconsistent. Although I am choosing to run 3 goats, just because it's a good stall card. After that, we run 1 Premature Burial, obviously. It's the reborn for this format. 1 Lightning Vortex, you discard Sinister Serpent with it, and then you destroy all face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field. 2 Book of Moon. Book of Moon was at 2, why not run 2? 2 Noblemen of Crossout, get rid of their Magician of Faith, you essentially shut them down in a big way. That's what it was good for. Snatch Steal, it's a incredibly better mind control. And then back row removal, we had Heavy Storm and Mystical Space Typhoon. No Starlight Road, so you'd really want to use Heavy Storm when they had 5 back row. You just saved up all these cards, you have all these power cards, and you just saved up. You did small things with your little level 4 monsters, your Breaker, Azure Priest, etc. And then eventually you got to your big pushes. There was no Effect Veiler, no D-Prison, so you could just play in a different way. After that, we've got Ring of Destruction. I love this card. If my opponent's life is higher than theirs, I will more, or even if it's equal, if we're both full or something and they overextend too early, drop Blackluster Soldier, I will immediately Ring of Destruction that. No hesitation. Dex Warning is explosive, and to get rid of a Blackluster Soldier just meant a lot. Getting them off the field meant the only way they could bring them back is with Premature Burial. It really limited their options, so really powerful card. Next we've got Mirror Force, another powerful card. You wait till they overextend their field a little. You just need to make sure that they didn't space it or Dust Tornado it. Next we've got 1 Torrential. You just gotta play smart with this card. You set a Sinister Serpent, set a Sangan, something like that, and then you Torrential. You just hope they extend to the board a little more. It is hard to get monsters on the board though, so you just wait till they drop something big. Next we've got Call of the Haunted, another try to bring back cards from the grave type of thing. So essentially that's what all it's good for. It's obvious what Call of the Haunted's good for. Next we've got Dust Tornado. Since you only could run 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, you had to run Dust Tornado just to keep up. And finally, the last card of the deck is 1 Sakuretsu Armor. Mini Mirror Force essentially, it's like the little brother. It's just what you had since Mirror Force was at 1, which is weird that they're finally putting it back up to 2. I don't know how I feel about it, just because Mirror Force at 2 seems odd. It's always been at 1 from what I know. And I guess we'll finish up the deck profile with 4 goat tokens, my bad. Pokemon cards, because I have way too much time at locals. I don't actually play Pokemon. I just had some extra store credit. And then fusions, you run whatever the hell you feel like it. Obviously you run Thousand Eyes Restrict. I have to borrow extra decks whenever I play Go Control because I am a poor ass motherfucker. That should actually be my YouTube name. Maybe I'll change it. Probably not. Anyway, YouTube, like I said before, rate, comment, subscribe below. I will have more deck profiles like from this format, actually, not Go Control 2005. I've got like plants. I've got updated Six Samurai. I'm just trying to look at what I've got. Hell, I've got updated wind-ups. I know I said I promised you I'd upload that, so I'll get to it. Do some local deck profiles, stuff like that, but I need you guys to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, and I will see you next time.